Good evening and welcome to the work session for the Village Board of Pleasantville. Today's Monday, August 9. We have our work session from 7 to 8, our regular session at 8 p.m. We're back here in Village Hall. Air conditioning project not quite done, but at least today conditions are okay. And given the COVID circumstances, we're, as you can see, masked up. So we have some masked friends tonight. The first item on our agenda is the folks from the former Chappaqua Orchestra, and now Orchestra 914. Welcome Amy Harder, David Restivo, and Al Crum. Take it away.
Good evening. Thank you so much for inviting us to present at tonight's Village Board meeting. My name, once again, Amy Harder, Co-Executive Director of the Orchestra 914, along with David Restivo. I'm also a longtime resident of Pleasantville, and we are very excited to share news of Orchestra 914 officially with a new name and a new location in Pleasantville and a new music director. We are working on a new concert season and are very excited to officially become part of the cultural life of Pleasantville. We want to share some news about what's happening with the orchestra and how we want to bring live classical music to this community and also to communities throughout Westchester.
So you can see here we're Orchestra 914 and then also or 0914. Just a little bit about the history. This group has been around a very long time, since 1958. Boris Kutzen, who was a musician in the city, lived up here, and he tried to create a group to bring high-quality classical music to northern Westchester. And over the years, TCO has had many incarnations from a mix of professionals and local amateurs to what is now a fully professional orchestra. We've had several conductors over the years, many of whom have gone on to national recognition. The Chappaqua Orchestra played countless live concerts for the residents of the community, and it has been an honor and privilege to perform there. It's you.
So after careful consideration, our board decided, as we said, that it would be best for the group to change its name and move its home base to Pleasantville. And we are very excited to join the likes of such cultural groups as Jacob Burns, Art Stages, Pleasantville Music Festival, and become part of the vibrant cultural community here. We have selected a new music director, Russell Gurr. He will be helping us put together the 2021-22 concert season, and we feel that he encompasses everything about what Orchestra 914's core values represent: artistic integrity, community collaboration, inclusiveness, and unexpectedness.
So our decision has been primarily based on the need to reach a wider audience. And we wanted to find a community that is dedicated to the arts. And we really feel like Pleasantville encompasses that for sure, with all the things that Amy mentioned, like Jacob Burns and Art Stages, the festival, the farmers market. And Peter has been very supportive of this move and has certainly let me know that he is here to support us. We've already developed relationships with local organizations in town like Art Stages and, for instance, St. John's with Mother Mary, and using that space for rehearsals. And we are planning a holiday concert in December there as well. We're also trying to work with Art Stages with various things, including a chamber concert there and possibly a musical of some sort with them as well. So our core values are artistic integrity, community collaboration, inclusiveness, and unexpectedness. Artistic integrity, that starts with finding our new music director, Russell Gurr. We are very thrilled to bring him on. We do feel he encompasses our goals and vision for the orchestra's future. I'm going to talk a little bit about him. He has quite a resume. Russell has a broad repertoire which spans orchestral, operatic, and chorale music, which he has conducted across North America, Europe, and his home country of Australia. Since 2016, Mr. Gurr has been music director of the Greater Newburgh Symphony Orchestra in New York. He's toured North America with the renowned violinist Zach Perlman, promoting a recording of for Sony of Jewish art music made in 2012. He pursued a Master's of Music in Orchestral Conducting at Boston Conservatory. As a proud alumnus of Symphony Australia, the leading conductor training program in the country, Mr. Gurr had the opportunity to work with Australia's top orchestras. Mr. Gurr is committed to nurturing the next generation of musicians. As a conductor of the Norwalk Youth Symphony in Connecticut, he works with young people on a weekly basis. He additionally serves as music director of the Park East Synagogue in New York City, where he works with the most highly esteemed living cantor, Yitzhak Helfta. So we are committed to the highest of artistic integrity and quality. We hire some of the best musicians in Westchester and New York City. Before I get to the community collaboration, we had this presentation a couple of weeks ago at St. John's for community members, and I asked the question, why Orchestra 914, why not Pleasantville Orchestra? And Peter said, yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not?
And, you know, it took a while to come up with a name, and there was lots of names that went about and stuff, but we really wanted to find something that reached a wide audience. When people said they heard the name Chappaqua Orchestra, they thought local and amateur, and we're neither one. So we feel Orchestra 914, it tells you who we are and where we are. Also, we feel like Pleasantville is quite used to the idea of not having the name on stuff that is world-renowned, like the Jacob Burns and Arc Stages, right? You guys are quite used to it and really take ownership of it and are proud of it. And we think that we can, you know, do that as well for this town. So our next part of our core values is community collaboration.
Yes, so we are in the process of trying to form partnerships and put together outreach programs, some of which exist and some of which we are looking forward to building with organizations in Pleasantville and also in other communities. We're working on a pilot program which is going to potentially kick off at Pleasantville High School to get students involved with the orchestra, volunteering, community service, maybe bringing some musicians to perform for an event at the high school. We also will potentially do a similar program in Peekskill and at Mount Vernon. We have an annual concert, Together in Music, that is particularly geared towards the special needs community, and we hold a concerto competition for talented young musicians that results in the winners performing at one of our concerts. We plan to perform potentially at retirement communities, and also we have a wonderful chamber music series with an artistic director, Cynthia Peterson, and that series is going to kick off September 10th with a performance on the Bedford Playhouse lawn, and you can get more information about that on our website.
So as a part of the community collaboration, two things that we're particularly proud of is Together in Music, like Amy said, which is the special needs concert. We did that a couple of years ago before COVID. We were supposed to do it last year again. But it was a huge success, and what that is we have children of special needs playing with the orchestra within the orchestra. And one of your local town residents, Tara Klein, was involved with that as well, and the special needs group in Chappaqua. And it was very, very special for us having those kids play in that group. You know, you had parents in the lobby just crying because they never get to take their kids to concerts, and they got to bring their kids to something for the first time ever. You know, and that was amazing. So we're going to be trying to do that again in the spring. And then also with the Chamber Series, Cynthia Peterson has created what's called Grace Notes. It's a series that we do in prisons, mostly upstate. I played in one of them. It was also really amazing seeing the inmates some of them never seen this kind of music before in their lives, watching us, and really were so engaged in what we were doing. And they didn't have to be there, but they came and they loved it. And it was such a pleasure to be able to play for these people and give them something like that. And as soon as we can again, we'll try to have that concert series again whenever everything opens up and allows us to. Okay. Inclusiveness. That really also talks about the Together Music Special Needs concert as well. That's a very good example of that, including individuals who don't get to come to concerts or even playing stuff like with us. That's really great. We have a children's concert series. We have 2 this year, as well as we're really trying to diversify our group. We're making a very good effort to try to, a big effort to try to make the orchestra look like, the country, and hire individuals that, they should be in our group. Why shouldn't they? The BIPOC community, everybody. So that is a huge goal of ours to make that happen as well. So, right.
So we really want to convey that we are so excited that we are, not that we will be, but that Pleasantville is actually our new home, and we are planning on performing at various locations in town. Hopefully for this season we will have an orchestra concert at the holidays and potentially a chamber music concert at a venue in town. We're discussing the location at Arc Stages for the spring. What's unique about us is that we are a scalable ensemble with able to be flexible and to perform in multiple venues across the county, large and small. Our repertoire will include new and exciting works from contemporary composers along with traditional symphonic music, and we hope that there will be something for everybody and that we can reach more diverse audiences with a wider range of music that we're providing.
Yep.
So, we anticipate there are going to be many ways to get involved, and of course I would say the first one would be to check out our website, which is up and running. And also we are, as I mentioned, we're putting together our concert season for 21-22, and that hopefully will be available in early September. So you'll be able to hopefully find several different types of events that will be of interest to you, and we hope that people will attend the concerts, tell their friends, something for individuals, something for families. We are also for individuals putting together something called the Orchestra 914 Founders Society for people who want to support us as individuals. We also are going to have a corporate society for corporations to get involved, and also to get to promote their own business and show that they are supporting not only the community but supporting the arts in the community. And we hope that also with this volunteer group called Friends of 914, that members of the community will come and volunteer at some of the concerts and be able to get more personally involved. So we have a lot of different opportunities, and we hope as people come to learn more about us, they will want to get more involved in several of these ways.
One of the ways is joining the board. So we have Al Kroll here that can talk about the board a little bit. He is the president of our board, and yeah.
I'm the only one wearing the color of the orchestra. I started like 2 weeks ago. So
They didn't get the memo, I guess, huh?
No, they didn't. I got to say, I've been involved with the orchestra for over 20 years. Started off as a player. I'm an architect and a developer by vocation, a player by avocation. I knew better. I wasn't going to make it as a horn player. Anyway, so we're fortunate to have co-executive directors, David and Amy. All right. I feel the best I've ever felt being on this board, that we are actually taking off from a really good launching pad. When the whole concept of changing the name and moving our base location came up, it was almost a no-brainer decision. There's been a lot of conversation with Peter. Pleasantville is I'm going to say, still up and coming center for the arts. You guys have created an unbelievable base that you've got with, they said, Burns and Art Stages and whatever. I've been involved personally with Art Stages for a long time. My daughter went there growing up, starting with them when they were bouncing around town. But we're looking forward to this. It's coming at a good time to make the change. Why Orchestra 914? In one of the rehearsals for our June concert, which was the first live concert in Westchester in 15 months, I went to the rehearsal and I got up in front. The name change and everything was being bandied about as a political football in Newcastle. So we decided, okay, we're going to let the musicians know what's going on. So I started off by going, okay, how many people in this room live in Chappaqua? David raised his hand and I raised my hand. Okay, very familiar with Pleasantville, and it sort of made all the sense in the world to be here. Aside from the fact that Peter's promised us this grand concert hall in the future.
It's under construction as we speak.
Absolutely.
Okay, but we're excited by it. And at the June concert, we sort of hinted that it would be the last concert under Chappaqua Orchestra, and the timing was such that one of our board members, the last remaining link to the original orchestra, passed away, Rita Ross. Her husband, Mort Ross, was an educator in Newcastle, but also one of the founding members of the orchestra. So the timing was such that it just made absolute sense. Cut the cord, move on. So we are excited. We have a great board. You know, mostly you go to volunteer organizations and you go, boy, if I ran my business like this board, we'd be out of business. This is a board where everyone, and there's a diverse age group, I think I'm the oldest, maybe, where we bring our professional senses in to help it run better. Pleasantville is the beneficiary of a new and improved organization. As David had mentioned with our new musical director, which is really the crux of our operation. He did say we were 100% amateur, but I do play occasionally. Excuse me, 100% professional. I, as an amateur, do play at least, hopefully, one concert a year, which is the holiday concert. So,
Come on, we think of you as a professional.
well, we'll see. In any case, we're thrilled to be part of Pleasantville. I hope you guys are equally as thrilled, and we look forward to really growing mutually and making it really a home run for everybody. So I thank you.
So the last thing here is we want to talk about is our season coming up. As we said, it's going to be we're going to play all over the county, but really our home base will be here. We're starting off. I'm playing in a quartet. It's the same thing that's on our website. You can see it, but we're playing live at the Bedford Playhouse out on their lawn on September 10th at 7 p.m. We have September, I think it's 17th actually, chamber concert. We're trying to do that. Well, all of these, we're not sure. We're still trying to pinpoint the locations actually right now. So we have in September a chamber concert. October 9th is a family concert. It's called Music is Science. It involves a scientist and the conductor talking about the scientific principles behind how the instruments make their sounds and doing experiments on the stage showing that. And then we play music to show how that happened. November, we're having a Meet the New Director reception, hopefully here in Pleasantville. November 21st, we're having an all-strings concert at the Paramount in Peekskill. December holiday concert we talked about at St. John's, we're hoping will happen. And then February, another chamber concert. We're working on that one. I think that's going to be an all-brass concert. March orchestra concert, April chamber concert, and then another April concert with that Together in Music Special Needs group. And then also in May, the Concerto Winners Concert. The concerto competition has taken off to become one of the most sort of renowned competitions in the New York area. It's started off with maybe, I think, 6 participants in it. In the second year, it grew to about 60 to 70 participants from all around the country. And what helped out with that was one of our artistic advisor is Robert Sherman, who is on QXR in the city, and he played our concerts on his show. And he's playing this June 11th concert. The winners from that concert are being played on September 8th, I think is the date that he's playing it on his show on QXR as well. So we're very happy and proud of that. It's going to be great. So that May concert is the winners of that competition. So that's it. If you guys have any questions for us, it'd be great. But we're just proud to be here. We're happy to be here and excited and looking forward to many. Well, we're already been around for over 60 years. I hope it's more than that here.
So thank you for that, guys. I've heard all this before, as you said. I'm happy to hear it again. Happy to share it with my colleagues and a broader audience. Were all those things you said you were. Happy, excited, enthusiastic, and optimistic. I was going to say you've landed in a good place. You haven't just landed here. You piloted yourself here, and for good reasons. So
it wasn't a long trip.
I am delighted to have you here. We self-importantly like to think of ourselves as the magnetic center of Westchester, but certainly as regards the arts, I think, can claim a little bit of that here, and you've added to the strength of that magnetism. And it's a big tent. All your past folks who identify with Chappaqua are obviously still part of the picture and are welcome here. And as you have already alluded, until we get the aforementioned concert hall built, paid for by we're not sure who and located we're not sure where, you'll be all around the county, which reflects your name, Orchestra 914. But everywhere you go, you'll have Pleasantville tattooed right across your sleeve. So, thank you, David. Thank you, Amy. You've obviously plugged into a great Pleasantville resource.
I was going to say, whenever I was thinking about this in the spring, I had to find somebody that could really help me here in Pleasantville, and Amy's been like the perfect person. She's really taken it on and done a great job with it.
I echo all of that, and glad to see Al Kroll back in this room, who was here, God, was it 15 or more years ago in an entirely different context. But you came back where you belong. So you've got, I hope you've got some wind in your sails, and we'll help to accelerate this.
So as you're planning for next year, one of the things that I think is of interest to us is to help our community learn how public spaces work culturally. And I think one of the things we could look at doing in the spring, assuming that we're done with all this by then, would be potentially after in the afternoon or evening on a Pleasantville Farmers Market Day, keeping that space blocked off and having an outdoor concert there. I think that could be quite nice.
Yeah. We are definitely in talk with Stuart Vance about, we were going to play something in the fall there, but
during the market.
During the market,
right? Yeah.
But they just shut it down again. They're not going to do music now because of the Delta and all that stuff.
Shut down the season for music.
Yeah. Unfortunately, but it's what we're dealing with, and we don't know if that's going to happen all around. Hope that's not a harbinger, but
I mean, you could certainly play the market with a string quartet or a small chamber orchestra. But if you want to actually use that space and play your full orchestra there, I think I think talk about doing something.
And I saw the plans for. I was telling Peter I saw the plans for whatever is supposed to happen there. I guess
the civic space.
It looked perfect for something like this.
We're fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I know acoustics are tricky outdoors, but
it is what it is.
I had some questions, but you frustratingly answered all of them for me, so I don't have any questions left. But I second and what Peter has said. I think it's really exciting that you're choosing to set up shop here. The only thing I was going to add is that on your list of artistic references in Pleasantville, you might add Skarstad violins.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I take my violin there.
Some of the most famous violins in the world have come through Pleasantville.
Yeah.
That might be my first meeting of David as he's putting past my office on the way to Brighton.
Yeah. That's right.
So-
That's right. He's
Thank
great.
you for noting that.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
changed my violin. I don't know how I sound better.
But it's very exciting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job. I just wanted to say congratulate you, and obviously we're excited to have something else that just I'm sorry I can't see on the end of
Oh,
there.
I'm sorry.
We're excited just to I've been in Pleasant for a long time. I've grown up in Pleasantville, and I think it's so great when I think just the culture of the village really expands more and we get exposed to more different things, and I think that's great. So I'm really excited to have something like this to really just kind of, although we're a small village, but it's really showing how big, how much we have going on, and to add something like this that can really, really get a lot of the school children involved and they can see this. Those are the kind of things that I think are so influential right now, and give everyone a positive, role model to see that, look, you could do these fun things. So I definitely applaud you and wish you a lot of success.
Yeah, that's one of the talk about the pilot program. Something I've tried before, but that is exactly what we're trying to do with that, is to get kids involved, like to go see concerts. And I feel that if they go see a concert, it'll inspire them to. They see the real people, the pros doing it. They'll be inspired to want to practice. And that's always hard to get your kid to practice, to play something. So that's the kind of thing I'm going for with that. Get them to just come to concerts and hopefully be inspired.
Exposure. We want to expose
Yeah, it makes a
basically a
big
wider
difference.
audience
Yeah.
to the live classical music.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dave will be excited.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Take care.
So next item on our list was that we're dead on the money on schedule here. But we have to talk about parking permits for 10 minutes in order to stay on schedule.
Yes.
So-
Downside for sure.
Our online packet included the report about parking permit sales,
That's right.
which make it clear that our parking permit revenue is not shockingly well below what it's been in the past, and we have, for the first time in a good long while, a lot of parking permits available. You can walk in today and get one, right?
Yeah, now a couple things to note. There is a wait list, so we do have the capacity to move on the wait list if we're so inclined.
Would there be a reason not to?
Well, if we look at the plaza in Cooley, well, let's take the Cooley lot specifically. Right now, there's a lot of we have a license agreement with 70 Memorial to operate on part of the parking lot, and that has not. They're paying for those spaces, and that has not been impactful because there's not a lot of commuter demand on that lot right now. Add to that, when Cooley Street becomes a two-way road, we're going to lose some parking spaces there. So it may be advisable at this point to keep Cooley where it is.
Which is about half sold.
Which one is
What-
Plaza here?
What about the plaza? The
Plaza is
plaza's
the top
top
one.
line.
Oh, the top. Sorry, it was Yeah, it's a little hidden. And just of note, we're comparing 18 and 19 to 2021 because 2021 got hit with the with the COVID
Right.
impacts. So
Couldn't we sell more spaces in the plaza?
we could. This fiscal year we'll be up against the Manville Road project, and at some point the north part of the plaza will be utilized as a staging area for that construction project. The other thing to point out is the adopted budget. We have $125,000. We project $125,000 in revenue through parking permits. So
And we're 134.
so we're doing better than what we budgeted.
Right.
So there's a bit of some flexibility here. And obviously, for instance, with the Manville Road project, the ability to utilize that north part of the plaza will come into play when we can get the new light in place. And there's a lot of discussion about how long that may take with the lead time, and that's probably the most complicated part of that project is getting that light. So some
So
of
these permits are based on they used to be based on the fiscal year. Now we're selling them because of the way things played out. July 1.
Right.
It's a July 1 to June 30 year.
Right.
Right?
That's right.
And we're also reviewing our parking policy, right, for short-term parking?
Well, so for the plaza, that's right now we are working with BFJ to analyze what we may do in the plaza in terms of a pay and display or offering short-term transient parking options.
Right.
So it'd be a hybrid model where we would offer parking permits for commuters.
Right.
They'd be able to park until a certain time. Well, they could park any time, but they'd be guaranteed a spot until a certain time in the morning. And then folks could also pay for short-term parking through pay stations that will locate there. So
And how long do we estimate roughly it's going to take until
that's up and running?
Yeah.
That also entails a local law. So we'd have to go through a local law process. So that alone would take about a month. Policy-wise, by the time we do the analysis with BFJ, which I don't think will be a lengthy one, maybe that's a month, maybe 3 months.
3 months?
Then we have to buy the pay and display gizmos or the
would.
same device where you type in your.
Yep.
Is that
license
likely
plate.
to impact the amount of commuter spots we have, or not really?
I mean, that's part of the conversation. I think right now the wait list is mostly merchants that are on the wait list. I'm not. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Alyssa.
It's down the middle.
Yeah.
How current is the wait list? Like, do we know what the demand really would be off of the wait list?
No,
No.
because we haven't followed up with people in terms of who is definitely going back to the city and who's not. A lot of people, this.
Is there a way to survey? Could we survey our wait list? Because what I'm really curious about. Everything you're saying is important and absolutely true, and I agree with you. We need the flexibility probably right now, but I want to know where the long-term demand for parking is and how that's been affected by the pandemic. Because right now it's looking like it's 20% off ish, which actually is a very big deal to us because that would suggest then we could do the civic space without negatively impacting people's ability to park, even not counting the extra spaces that we've required. So.
And now,
Well, I don't know that the long-term demand is yet understood by anybody, including the people who might have
Right.
the demand.
Right.
So we just need to keep
Right.
gauging it as we go
Because
forward.
people may not even be owning cars at a certain point, for one thing.
Several things are going on here. One is you've got some people who've been commuting the whole time or are commuting now, and they obviously renewed their permit. You have some people who aren't sure what's going to happen and renew a permit because they don't want to run the risk of losing it. And once you have it, as long as you renew annually, you keep it. Then obviously we've got some people who just gave it up, either because they don't anticipate the need for it, or they don't know what the future need is, or they'll be part-timer commuters and they figure they can kind of roll with it. But so, the one thing that seems absolutely certain is that demand will be, for regular commuter permits, it seems almost certain to be lower than it was.
Yeah, there are
Right.
financial firms that have already given up buildings permanently in
Right.
the city, so that's going to for sure have an effect.
So, it's near term. Jeff's putting in the conduit right now to allow us to have the meter gizmos similar to what we have in the Manville lot and the lot between Holy Innocents and the bagel store.
Right.
And those can either be a pay and display where you get a chip, you go back to your car, or you can pay with Pango, which is another interesting question about how much activity we're seeing there. Or we could elect same device, just a different programming where you just type in your license plate number, right?
that's right.
Which is what they do with the same device we have, but in Mount Kisco
That's right.
at the Blackaby lot, for example. So you don't have to go back to your car.
That's right.
So all of those things are options, but the result in the end is, and we'll see what BFJ has to say, but the dream is that we can be pretty flexible and can adjust as needed to say, okay, we're going to sell X number of permits, and after a certain time of the day, every space is up for grabs, but you have to pay for it. At the moment, we don't have the capacity to ask anybody to pay on a transient basis. It's not that we're trying to be jerks about it, but the folks who buy permits have paid for the right to do it, and hopefully in the business of putting in the gizmos is not an insignificant expense.
No. And obviously the goal
How much is it?
I have to look, but I think it's about 20 to 30,000 per machine all
Yeah.
in.
But we could do it without the gizmos, right? If we do
Well, there's no way to get.
if we do an app approach.
Well, but I mean, you can't require people to have a smartphone and an app in order to pay.
Oh, by gizmos you don't mean parking meter. You
No,
mean
the-
one of those.
I mean, the
Okay.
same kind of
You put
thing
your
we have in the
license
two
plate in.
Right, okay.
lots now.
Okay.
You'd still have the chance to pay via Pango if you choose to. Some people prefer not to because you pay a modest,
A surcharge.
16% surcharge.
That's right.
Just to throw one other thing, another wrench into the equation. I just want to put it out there that I know that Jeff is installing the cabling so that we can have charging stations.
Yep.
I've been hearing a lot about how a year from now, 2 years from now, there's going to be just an explosion of electric cars on the car market. So I think it would be good to start, actively pursuing a plan for charging stations.
Absolutely. I mean, we'll have the electrical infrastructure and the ability to build out
Yeah.
the number of spaces. I mean, we could start with a certain amount, and then, but the most difficult part is making sure you have the electricity.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I was
that
just
we're
in
doing.
California too, where, as you can imagine, there are more electric cars, and hearing a lot about how, what the availability of charging stations becomes, determines people's choice of
Yeah.
where to go
Yeah.
in certain cases, and so.
Yeah. So
I think
one
it's
interesting thing,
significant.
and obviously, a couple of the major manufacturers, Ford, maybe GM too, have committed to essentially an all-electric fleet by 2030, something like that.
Right.
The interesting question for us is, first off, you have charging stations. How do people pay for the electricity, or is that a public expense? And both of those things are extant out in the real world at the moment. There are some of them where it's a freebie, and there are some of them where you put in a
Where
credit
people
card or
pay.
something.
Well, I think we have to do our homework,
Yeah.
obviously,
Right.
to figure
But the other piece of it is
out.
the circumstance where if someone is a commuter, a Pleasantville commuter, by definition, they're only coming, less than a mile to drive here. They probably don't have a great need to have a charging station. When you start talking about transient visitors and people who might be coming from a distance, whatever, going to a movie, who knows what, the idea that, I'm running short of power when I get there, I'll plug in, obviously changes the game.
Yeah.
One of the things that, it'd be interesting, we can follow up with Newcastle and see how this played out, but at the Chappaqua station, they put in some charging stations, and that's happened at some other stations, and essentially those have taken those spots out of circulation if they're reserved for electric vehicles, and if there isn't an electric vehicle there, they sit fallow. So,
Right. I just think that, a couple of years from now, things are going to look different.
Yeah.
And
oh, no
so we
doubt.
need to-
Every year it's going to start looking different. A Ford just announced an electric pickup truck.
Well, and Jeep's number one selling vehicle right now is the 4xe, the hybrid plug-in hybrid Wrangler.
Right. The reality, of course, is that in our parking lot, you just have to figure out who you're trying to serve. Certainly, if it's a commuter, it's at least at the moment hard to argue that they need to charge while the car is sitting there if they're only a mile from home.
No, it makes more sense for
Right.
the
Right,
people
so
coming
I
to
think
shop.
the
transit,
question is
yeah.
who's the right person to consult, or people, right, to consult about this, and we can all do homework
Right.
on our own, but
Right.
all the questions Peter are asking
Yeah.
are important questions.
And there are a bunch of grants out there at the moment.
That's right.
And
Right.
deals that incentivize governments to create these sort of opportunities.
Right, it might be good to jump on it for that reason.
I mean, it's such a. We're in this weird world. I think electric vehicles are clearly the way of the future, and for reasons that I wholeheartedly ratify. But they're not without their impact because the energy had to have been generated somewhere, and until we have a stronger infrastructure for solar, wind, etc., we're in the weird circumstance in a place like Westchester and Hudson Valley in general, where electricity is clean because it's generated somewhere else.
That's right.
And so, all of that,
Right.
a little bit of an aside, but it's
not
frustration.
a perfect solution, but there seems to be some consensus that this is the best sort of transitional
No, I agree.
solution.
I don't mean to argue that at all. I guess
Yeah.
it's funny, you drive past places that are clearly closed, office buildings and the like, lit up like a
Christmas tree.
crazy scene, and I think it's true for lots of us that the day-to-day use of electricity feels like a sort of a de minimis piece, and for all of us, as is true in lots of ways about the environment, feels like our individual action is just a drop in the bucket, which it is, and yet tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of people doing something that's a de minimis adds up to something big. So.
Yeah. So going back to the parking permits question, and I apologize for the detour. Although
No, I was the one that detoured there. I apologize.
We need opportunities to talk. So
yeah, we're so thrilled that we're actually all in the same room.
Are people on the waiting list clamoring for permits, or is it just? It sounds like not really. It's just that it's been around for a while.
Some of them are.
Some of them are. Okay.
But I don't know how updated it is.
Because the other question I have is like, how full actually is the parking lot? Because in the past it seemed like,
right,
the number of permits was out of sync with the amount of use that it was actually getting. So if there are a lot of available spaces, then
right. And to your point, if you look at 18-19, we oversold the plaza lot. We were 127% over. And on a daily basis, you would find maybe 15 empty spaces in that lot, even having it have been oversold.
Yeah.
So maybe for those who are really clamoring, we could offer them something. What do you guys think?
Well, so there are a couple of other issues that get engaged with this, and that is, since we have the general guideline that once you have a permit, you keep renewing it, you keep it as long as you want it. One of the concerns has been that an individual business that, say wants potentially 20 permits over a period of time acquires them and then has a pretty high percentage. And obviously we'd like to address everybody's needs, but when you end up with a circumstance where one individual business has created a lot of permits over a period of time and it has a lockup.
Is there a way to favor commuters in this
Couldn't we evaluate those every year?
Well, how do you evaluate?
Resident demand?
I don't. Up until now, obviously there have been a lot of sort of on-the-fly decisions over many years, but I'm not certain that we want to be in a circumstance where we say a resident has an automatic right to bump a business person.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that you don't give the automatic right to keep the space to the business.
So, just to play devil's advocate, why would you say that?
Because their commercial activity may vary, and we need to make sure they're a viable business, for one thing. We could accidentally create a secondary market for parking permits.
Meaning what? Somebody's selling?
Yeah.
So I'm not aware that we've had that problem. I'm sure we have at some point. But, I mean, just for example, I can tell you, having talked to a bunch of small businesses over a long period of time, a firm with 5 or 6 or 8 employees, none of them living here, their capacity to move here, which in many cases they really want to do, is limited by the question of whether they can assure their employees that there's some reasonable place to park. So I talked to a bunch of people over many years who said, I looked at space, I would have leased it, there's no parking available, I have XYZ employees, and we didn't take it because of that. So we certainly have a few businesses that have accumulated some permits, and that's what, in their view, makes it viable for them to be here. So, I mean, there's no perfect answer to this.
Yeah,
it's just everybody's right?
No, but what I'm saying is just like, yeah, I totally agree with you, but I think we should have the ability to have that conversation and say, you know what, you closed half of your space, you sold off so for instance, you sold off one of your 2 storefronts in Pleasantville, now you have fewer employees. we're not going to renew all of your permits or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little disinclined to think that we're in a position to, get under the hood of the motivations for a given business.
Would it make sense alternatively to rethink this once we've had the feedback from BFJ?
Right. I mean, it's partly a problem that's not at the moment too severe, in part because obviously it's pretty easy to park at the moment.
So maybe even before, we wouldn't have to wait necessarily for the gizmos or whatever we were calling them to be installed.
We're definitely not calling them gizmos.
But
I don't know. It's got a certain ring to it.
I'm going to keep going. But
Can you
maybe
make sure
wait
that it says
until at
gizmos
least
on
we've
the
had
purchase
their
order?
evaluation of the parking situation, and then
That's right.
Does that
That's our
make
intent,
sense?
is to have the analysis done,
okay.
debrief on that.
Yeah,
and
I mean, and realistically, it's going to be after the manual road corridor stuff is done that we're really going to need to seriously look at the whole parking situation.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you're optimistic in saying that'll be done. I was hoping, right? We'll know soon.
Yeah, but I
Not
mean,
that soon.
I think we're uniquely positioned with a lot like Memorial Plaza, where it's in the heart of our commercial district.
Mm-hmm.
It could be used as a commuter lot. It could be used as a transient lot. I mean, we're seeing a lot of activity on Wheeler Avenue, making that a transient, short-term parking option would be a relief valve for the congestion.
Yeah, I mean, Wheeler's been packed.
Yeah,
Packed.
no doubt.
Yeah.
So, one sort of related but ancillary question. There's now draft language circulating in the Senate, at least, for the infrastructure bill, which includes a big bundle of roads money. The grant that we have existing for the Manville Road Corridor pedestrian safety project is already a federal grant coming through a state block grant.
That's right.
Do we believe that there's going to be a chance to improve that? Because the original idea was to cover the entire project, right?
Well, there would be a match, a mandatory match by the village.
Right.
But it is my hope that there will be relief for local governments like us, and let's say the state DOT is very aware that we are open and anxious to get any type of additional support we can get. And we were on their radar for that additional $100,000 that they've put towards the project. So if there's any capacity to get more support, I think we're at the top of DOT's list.
So nobody sort of indicated what the draft looks like?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay, thank you.
All right. You know what? Since Alan is here, maybe we should just jump ahead and talk about this Oktoberfest idea.
Sure.
Yeah. Come sit here.
Come sit 6 feet away.
Well, do you want to stand up by the microphone so you could be on the mic?
Oh, I guess so. But we don't get to talk to people anymore.
So just heads up. I was talking to Alan earlier because we were emailing back and forth, and I said stop by if you can, but not to put you in the spot. Literally,
okay.
No pun intended. But I also just sent everyone in a couple of emails that Alan sent me with some proposals of kind of the layout. But I'll let Alan kind of explain a little bit.
So that just to set the tone here, the idea driven by the Chamber of Commerce, Alan in the lead, is to have an outdoor event on Wheeler Avenue that would be just Pleasantville businesses and proposed to be Saturday, October 2, right?
That's my understanding, yes.
Right. So I'm just looking at this stuff that Paul just forwarded. So why don't you just report what your thinking has been, Alan, then we can take it around a little bit.
Well, I just, having had the experience of organized something like this before, the best way to do it is to sort of plan ahead for things and start thinking about how it might be organized and how it might work functionally. And this is just my idea of one way the whole thing might be laid out. And you have a functional area which works for that type of event, and which takes into account the things that are going to be needed.
Can you down? You have to download.
I also think I provided sort of a loose list of we're going to need this, we're going to need that.
Sorry,
People are possibly going to want
download.
electricity, and where's that going to come from? Just all things that need to be thought about.
Sorry, yeah, mine's not showing.
So,
as an attachment.
I'm just looking for the first time at this stuff you had sent to Paul that he forwarded. I mean, there are a whole bunch of things to think about, including what you're proposing here is entertainment in the Bedford Road lot. That's the one that one enters between Holy Innocents and the bagel store, right?
I'm sorry?
You're talking about entertainment in the Bedford Road lot,
Yes.
right? And then food and booths all along Wheeler Avenue, including a child's play area.
Child's play area could be cordoned off if necessary.
No, it says potential child entertainment.
Yes.
So
Yeah, well,
here-
I wanted there to be a place where, you know, we could do a bouncy castle or something like they do for Pleasantville Day if, you know,
Yeah.
if that seemed to be a good idea.
So all of this, obviously, maybe one thinks a little differently today than we did even a week ago. I worry a little bit about it getting too big in the world of COVID. As I'll report when we get to our regular meeting, our August numbers through the first 9 days of August are 400% above our July numbers in terms of COVID positives. So I worry a little bit about how big this gets. And I guess what I mean about that is it would be nice to think that we had planned an event that was manageable and social distanceable, even if we continue to find ourselves in these somewhat precarious circumstances,
Right.
and hopefully wouldn't have to cancel it, as opposed to an event that might, literally be drawing a whole lot more people than we could comfortably accommodate if we're worried about COVID. What do you think about all of that?
It's problematic because we don't know what's going to happen between now and then. So
Right. But I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, we didn't do Pleasantville Day in May. Obviously, we were in a different circumstance in May. I say that. Maybe the circumstance we're in this week looks sort of like it did in May. But I worry about a sprawling.
What's the date for this again?
October 2. Right?
So we're talking 7 weeks from now?
Right.
What's the expected length of this wave?
The event, we were looking at doing something like close off the road at 3, but the event was started at 4.
Sorry, I meant the COVID wave.
Yeah, I know that's
Oh.
what you meant.
I'm sorry.
Is there
I was
any?
just what did you?
I said, what's the expected length of this COVID wave? I'm just
Is there-
thinking
is
like
there
we might
even
be back down hopefully.
Hopefully, I mean,
Yeah.
they claim in the UK that's what happened.
Yeah.
I'm not sure anyone knows why.
Is there a way to make the plan flexible so that it can be sort of?
I think you definitely make a plan
Yeah.
with contingency. And I was really focusing on the Bedford lot here more than Wheeler Avenue because the Bedford lot gives you a big rectangular space where everything can be sort of organized and laid out in a way that makes sense, as opposed to when we're on Wheeler Avenue, we have to allow a fire lane down the middle. So the only usable space is essentially the parking spaces on either side. So it's a lot more limited there. But in using the Bedford lot, I mean, I actually set it up so that it's socially distanced.
Yeah, but I mean, if you had
more tables, it's not socially distanced anymore. But
if you had hundreds of people coming, right?
One thing is when we had talked about it earlier, we had wondered if it might not make sense to make it more of an adult-oriented event and not have kids stuff. What was your thinking about that?
My kids are at the age now where I'm not concerned about making it kid-oriented anymore
Right.
So this was sort of I know that there are a lot of people with kids in town.
Right.
And if there's a way to make it something that would work for that too, that's great. But that's not what I'm aiming for, particularly in the Bedford lot.
Yeah. It just seems like it would eliminate one worry, both in terms of COVID issues, which are harder to control with kids, obviously, who may not be vaccinated at that point. And then, obviously an event that's sort of more centered around alcohol, that raises concerns as well.
Right. Food and drink.
I'm not saying, I've been at parties where this kind of thing works fine, but just under the complicated world circumstances that we're dealing with right now, that's just a thought
So I think
that occurred to me.
So I have to kick this around a little bit because I'm just seeing this for the first time. It worries me a little bit that the event will be so focused on the Bedford Road lot, likely to the detriment of what goes on Wheeler. I hear all the comments. Obviously, we have concerns about fire lane and all that kind of stuff.
How do they manage pedestrian streets in other places, right? Because there are streets that are entirely closed, even in Manhattan now, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's some means of fire access as we would need to provide.
yeah.
I mean, that's manageable.
I don't understand why we can't just close Wheeler.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, the idea was to close Wheeler.
Yeah,
right?
Let's close Wheeler.
He's envisioning closing Wheeler and doing this Bedford Road.
That's what I was told was the plan.
Right.
So that's what I drew. That's what I drew up a map for.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what when I had brought up. So just to give a little more background on it, I discussed this. We discussed this at Chamber, the board meeting, specifically trying to find a way to help all the businesses come back, and at the same time also making an event. Obviously, when this is all coming up, things are a lot better. But coming up with an event to kind of welcome the community back. As a chamber, we weren't able to do our business appreciation or our business person of the year, so we were looking to combine kind of both events and make some appreciation. We have some really good candidates who we think really deserve the appreciation. So our mindset was always of having some type of stage. And in reality, there's really, on Wheeler, it's difficult to put a stage anywhere because of the fact that the smallest we could do a stage or something would be for a small acoustic group down by the Nona Plaza. But really, the only viable space in this area would be the parking lot. So that's why it just gave us more just in way of kind of spacing things out and being able to actually put a stage. And then we discussed the idea of, for musical entertainment, keeping it at as a local level. We wanted to have bands from, like, there's a Pleasantville High School jazz band. I know that Michael has a band, Michael Butler has a band. I play in a band as well, and it was trying to get a feeling of a village event that
So a battle of the board bands, is that
well,
what you're saying?
battle board, no. So I think that's why logistically, when I brought up the idea to our board as well, the vision was that lot really helps us. And in timing wise, when we picked it on Saturday in the afternoon, if we closing down Wheeler, we closed down Wheeler last year at least 3 times, I believe. And at that time it worked out because most of the businesses were kind of like the delis were closing up, so it didn't really affect them. And I think it benefited the times that I went out there. It was a nice event. So that's how we looked at it, as if it was something that kind of creates that, also opens up more space by having both Wheeler and the parking lot.
One question for you. So this is on a Saturday. Is there any reason you wouldn't just take the place where the farmers market would be, that space, as the outdoor space instead of the lot behind? That's a little bit more central, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I think at least Alan, you're also open to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were trying to figure out a spot, but yeah, I mean, if we could make that work,
I mean, like,
that would be fine too. I don't think we're not committed to a space.
How many parking spaces are there behind the on the Bedford lot?
50-ish.
And how many do we normally close off for the farmers market?
Maybe some more.
Yeah, so I mean, it would be like a wash from parking, but it just seems like it would be so much more visible.
But further away from Wheeler too.
I mean, no matter what, either of those plans draws energy away from Wheeler. Right.
Yeah.
Well, the thought of having Wheeler and a spot, it's because usually when you do have entertainment, you get very loud, very centered. So the idea of having the businesses on Wheeler have, the restaurants either have all their stuff, is that people are going up and down and they're hearing music, they're going back. Entertainment wise, my thought was, if we did want to have, let's say if there was, an acoustic performer on the other end, there could be. So you essentially be walking up and down Wheeler back and kind of spreading everything out. And essentially creating all the different areas where people can see. And as we were saying, we're inviting all businesses from Pleasantville. So that's also another reason why we wanted a different area other than just Wheeler, because other businesses that are coming either from the old village or from, let's say, by the area on Bedford Road, by Jacob, by the John Jocks, all those businesses never get to really do anything because they don't really have space. So this would be a chance for them to come out and bring their tent and bring whatever it is that they're selling and kind of open it. So that's what we're thinking. We would fill up those spots on Wheeler.
Sure. Right, and some of my thinking was there's also some sensitivity to, like, you know, you're going to invite a business from another part of town to come in and set up their tent right in front of a similar restaurant business and be serving in front. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's got to be some sensitivity about how and where all that will be placed anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, we've got enough
That sounds
spaces
good.
in front of either an empty store or a place that wouldn't be participating. So painfully more space than we had last week.
Yeah.
I like the idea as a whole. I just want to say I think it's great. I think I like the Pleasantville-centric aspect of it, supporting local businesses.
Well, I'd like-
I know it's a vexed and complicated time, but I think we could use a little bit of celebration, and having it outside feels pretty safe to me.
And you're hopefully creating the blueprint for doing a lot more closing off of Wheeler and getting people walking there, you know, on nice days, because that it makes every bit of sense in the world if we can work with the businesses that depend upon the cars there and find the right time of day or the right day of the year or whatever. I think it'd be great to have this feel like even more of a pedestrian village to more people.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so we need to move on to our next subject, but so got this for the first time. I can say I've got some misgivings about the scale of this, but I might wrap my head around it.
It's totally.
Yeah, I understand. No,
Like I said,
thank you for
these
this. Right.
were just ideas.
Yeah.
It's all very scalable.
But we got to crystallize it pretty fast to make it
Yes.
happen.
Right.
That's
Yes.
the only other thing I would say is time is of the
Yeah.
essence, because these things require planning ahead and financial commitments and everything else.
Understood. All right, we're on it. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Alan.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
All right, we need to go to a regular meeting. We can come back to work session for that.
Did you want to quickly chat about the pool meeting?
Oh, right. So we have this, we scheduled, those of you who weren't here, Thursday, August 19, to do a sort of a town hall about the pool proposal.
Okay.
And our thought there, in this kind of complicated time with the expiration of our remote meeting rights, is to encourage folks to participate in this via Zoom. But all of us either have to be here, or we have to advertise where we are and make that location publicly accessible. So, for example, if you wanted to participate via Zoom from your home, your address has to be posted, and if someone knocks on your front door, you have to let them in.
I'm not
So-
going to be in Pleasantville on August 19th.
Okay.
So my issue, I am in Pleasantville, but I have a library board presentation I have to do from 7 to 8:15 or 8:30 potentially.
Yeah, so
And-
whatever. I mean,
If we don't have a quorum, if it's 2 board members or less, then it doesn't matter. We can
Yeah.
have to hold it fully
right.
online.
And, I mean, honestly, our intention has been to describe what the proposal is, to
Right.
show it to everybody, and to solicit commentary. So that'll all get taped, and those who can't participate,
Doesn't really matter.
doesn't really matter.
Okay.
So just to understand, if I were doing this other thing and I want to call in, could I call in and just be in the audience then?
No,
No,
Or I can't. Like I have
technically
to. You can. I guess you can notice my home address. Everybody knows it anyway.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a ridiculous thing, and painfully, I mean, just to underscore how ridiculous it is, you could be in a hotel room in Hong Kong, and you can call in as long as you notice that someone could come into your hotel room in Hong Kong. You know, it isn't even that you have to be in a location that's even imaginably accessible. So, just
So I realize there's some distractions in Albany right now, but is there any chance, given the Delta variant, that we can, have some accommodations again?
So it would require an executive order. I somewhat doubt, given the politics at the time, that we're going to see any executive orders of that kind. But you never know.
And the legislature is out, not in session.
Not in session, not back till next fall. So ain't nothing going to happen, I don't think. So at any rate, if you're all okay with it, we'll announce it and encourage people to watch by Zoom. I'll be here. Anyone else who wants to come here and can do it
So why
here.
don't you go ahead and notice my address, my home
Yeah.
address.
Okay. Can you just shoot me an email with
Sure.
any other chance? Okay.
All right. Sound good?
Yep.
All right. We're ready to go. We've waited an appropriate editable distance. Good evening and welcome to the Village Board meeting. We begin our regular meeting coming out of work session for today, Monday, August 9. As we have reported in the past, we're back here in Village Hall. Painfully, given the circumstances with the Delta variant, we're back here wearing masks. More on that in a moment, but you can log in and watch our meetings at pctv76.org or via YouTube. If you search in YouTube for Pleasantville Village Board, you will find it. So we're in a little bit of uncertain circumstances about exactly how we're going to manage meetings going forward, other than to say, as it stands right now, we'll meet here in the meeting room, but certainly are clear that there were lots of advantages to the Zoom meetings we had when our meetings were solely via Zoom, including the fact that it made it easy for people to log in and at least listen or participate wherever they were, even if they were beyond the reach of cable TV or didn't have it. It may turn out that our capacity to direct stream is a good answer to that, but long story short, we're still talking about that, and we'll have more to report on that in the next few weeks. So our next regular meeting is today is the 9th. We have a regular meeting 2 weeks from today on Monday, August 23rd. Work session at 7 p.m., regular session at 8 p.m., right here at 80 Wheeler Avenue, Village Hall. At the moment, we are following the guidance the county has established for county buildings, which is participating in a public meeting requires a mask, whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated. So I had a few announcements to make. We don't have a terribly long agenda tonight, but the first obviously is our COVID update. As of today, the Village of Pleasantville had 3 new positives on the list that came out today. We have 24 active cases. Those numbers would have looked pretty good in the worst of the pandemic, but the unhappy news is that those numbers have escalated pretty dramatically. In the entire month of June, we had 1 positive case. In the entire month of July, we had 15 positive cases. And we have now had 15 positive cases in the first 8 days of August. So what is pretty clear is that we're between 300% and 400% above where we were in July. It remains to be seen if those numbers will stay the same, but that's where we are right now. What's obvious, and I'm sure all of you are reading it in the press as well, there are lots more people showing up with positives, and also a modest but nonetheless not insignificant number of breakthrough cases where people who are vaccinated have tested positive. So we certainly want to encourage everybody to get vaccinated. If you look at westchestergov.com on the home page, you can click into the COVID statistics and see what's going on in Pleasantville and anywhere else in Westchester County, both since the counting began and also the very current results. You can also click into the vaccination rates, which are kept not on a town-by-town basis, but on a zip code basis. If you drill into 10570, you will see that we're in the high 60 some odd % of folks who have had the full course of vaccinations. Higher numbers, somewhat higher numbers for folks who have had 1 shot but not 2. And that puts us well above the middle, but nowhere near the top of Westchester County. So we're in unknown territory at the moment, with the numbers absolutely quantitatively headed in the wrong direction. How far they continue to do that is anybody's guess, but it's clearly a time for caution, clearly a time to think about wearing a mask in a crowded circumstance. That's certainly the advice of the CDC. That's certainly advice of the county health department, and that's the advice we are currently following. So, as we have said in the past, and perhaps most of you likely to be watching this already know, vaccine appointments are available or even on a walk-in basis in quite a few places without any difficulty. If you want to get a vaccine, you can get one. They are completely 100% free, and we very much encourage folks to do it. It's clear from the advice of the CDC that one of the biggest risks we confront is that the longer COVID has running room in our society, the more likely it is that we're going to see yet another variant. And the variant that comes after the Delta variant may or may not be more virulent, more transmissible, and potentially more likely to pierce what currently appears to be a pretty good success rate with the vaccine. So vaccinated folks are clearly possible to come down with COVID, but almost certainly likely to have a much less severe case. The hospitalization numbers in Westchester remain pretty good, and I think that's an indication of the fact that Westchester, as compared to some places in the country, has a relatively high vaccination rate, and so we haven't seen the kind of overwhelming numbers arriving in the hospitals in Westchester. So all of that's good news, but I think what that is a further indication that the vaccinations work, the vaccinations help, and at least as of the moment, speaking for myself, they appear to be our best hope to turn this thing around. A month ago, I think all of us were feeling like we were headed for much more progress. A month later, it starts to feel as though we're heading in the wrong direction. The numbers clearly underscore that. So please help in any way you can. A couple of other things to say while we're on the dark side. The county health department let us know that West Nile virus has been found in a couple of locations in Westchester County. That's carried by mosquitoes, and they send out the pitch, which we send out annually. You really want to avoid standing water. If you have whatever, the fire pit that fills up with water, whatever it might be, standing water is a significant problem, and so we encourage everybody to have that in their mind. We announced at our meeting 2 weeks ago, with the assistance of Troy Tassier and Jim Kennedy of our Pleasantville Pool Task Force, a new design for the Pleasantville Pool. The Examiner ran a front page article. Thank you, Abby, of the Examiner. You can log into the Examiner News website and get a look there if you haven't seen it. It's also up on our website at pleasantville-ny.gov. But we're planning to have a town hall meeting on Thursday, August 19 at 7:30 p.m. And we'll be at least a few of us right here at 80 Wheeler Avenue, but we're going to post a Zoom link and encourage folks, especially given the COVID circumstance and just for convenience, to sign in for a Zoom webinar. And our intention that night is to go through the plan as it has been developed with our pool consultant, Steve Rimkunis, and the really a great team that Troy and Jim have been leading with our pool task force, with the assistance of Eric and everybody on the village team. So we're kind of excited about the draft plan, but interested in what anyone's opinion might be. Let me just borrow this without knocking over your stuff. We produced a one-pager, which has on the front a rendering of the proposed new pool design, and on the back a Q&A answering a lot of the questions that people may have. We have a stack of these up at the Pleasantville Pool. That also, I think, got sent out via social media on our Facebook page. And is it up on our website?
It is, under projects and initiatives.
Projects and initiatives at pleasantville-ny.gov. So that's a great way to get a sense of what we may be talking about at that town hall meeting on Thursday, August 19. One of the pieces of the Q&A that's the subject of a bunch of questions that I've had is, what might all this cost? We are pretty confident that the project is likely $3 million or $3 million plus, because we're really at the point where we need to rebuild the pool. But we have a plan for this and have a bunch of different ways to fund it. And our estimate at the moment is that if all goes according to plan, the impact on the average homeowner's taxes might be something like $40 a year. So that's obviously a rough guess, and we've already been through a process with Steve Rimkunis, our pool consultant, thinking about some of the ways in which we could maintain the integrity of the design but save a little money, and that'll be ongoing. But you can find out all you want to know by taking a look at that one-pager in any of the various places I described, and signing on with us on August 19th. Lots more to discuss about it, but I think it's an exciting opportunity, and I think many people in the community have spoken very clearly about the importance of a Pleasantville pool to them and to their families, and to the legacy of Pleasantville families that have grown up around the Pleasantville pool, and I think the board is committed to making that happen. So good news on that front. Also wanted to mention we got a notification today that the Federal Emergency Management Agency is undertaking a nationwide emergency alert test, which is going to happen at approximately 2 p.m. on August 11th. There'll be a nationwide emergency alert test. Test messages will be sent to TVs and radios, as well as cell phones. If you have opted in to receive emergency messages, it will last for about 5 minutes. TV channels may be temporarily interrupted. So there's something to have in mind. Wednesday, August 11, there's a nationwide emergency alert test that will intrude upon your day briefly. A couple of other things I could report, but I probably can skip those for the moment. But I did want to report one piece, which is that we have an opening on the Zoning Board of Appeals, and if anyone who might be listening is potentially interested in serving on the Zoning Board of Appeals, they should let me know, or through Eric and Alyssa in Village Hall. Very much interested in hearing from folks who might be interested in playing that role here in the Village of Pleasantville. So, library board as well, right. So, any other announcements to make in the dog days of August here? Mm-hmm. Any comment from the public of any sort? Abby, you are our only public. Mm-hmm. No comments. All right, with that, let's go to the resolutions. I guess I should say Paul has been a member of our board for quite a while, but this is the first time we've actually sat here at this desk. Last couple of meetings we've been down at the Clinton Street Center because of an air conditioning project going on here. So welcome to 80 Wheeler Avenue, Trustee Alvarez.
Thank you. I can't get my resolutions up. I can just borrow yours. Okay.
204.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village administrator to sign the proposal for a fee of $3,500 with BFJ Planning for the water demand analysis study to analyze the potential impacts on the drinking water demand from the future development in the village.
Is there a second?
Second.
Eric, do you want to just report what's behind this?
Sure. So, as you know, we obtain our water from the Millwood Water Treatment Plant. There are certain thresholds that the village has in terms of purchasing water from New York City DEP. There's a daily threshold that if we go over, the water is more expensive. So we want to wrap our brain around looking out into the future, what the demand could be if future projects come online, and preparing ourselves for what that may look like in terms of the water infrastructure itself and pricing of the water. And really, now's the time to do it. You want to be proactive instead of reactive with water infrastructure.
Okay. Comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Nicole, 205.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the minutes of the regular meeting held on July 26, 2021, and the minutes are attached.
Is there a second?
Second.
So let me just say, to the eternal credit of Alyssa, what a thrilling moment it is to open up the minutes and see a color picture inserted into the minutes. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Comments or questions? One piece I wanted to call out is that at our last meeting, Police Chief Eric Kretzner came and made the second quarterly update about activities in the police department. A really thorough piece, and those updates are something that came out of our police reform process. And as is enshrined in the minutes, you can take a look at Chief Kretzner's presentation at our website, pleasantville-ny.gov, via the police reform link. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. David, 206.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby approves the following budget amendments for fiscal year 2022 as listed below. From $7,100 from a 1990-400 contingent to a 5132-417 garage for repairs and maintenance. $2,317 from a 1990-400 contingent to a 9950-901 transfer to capital for Manville Road improvements. $2,031 from a 7230.406 rec camp supplies to a 7020.406 rec administration supplies. $1,791 from a 7230-406 rec camp supplies to a 77020-488 rec administration software for a total of $13,293. $13,000 from for a 995.901 transfer to capital for the DPW garage boiler replacement, and then increased revenue and expense from the capital fund, $2,371 from the interfund transfer from general fund to Manville Road improvements village funds, and $13,000 from the interfund transfer from general fund to DPW garage boiler replacement for total of $15,371.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there no end to boilers and plumbing and air conditioning?
Apparently not.
Yes. So yeah, we need to replace the boiler at Public Works facility. Also, we're replacing an exhaust fan and fixing another. So some work over there.
All right. Comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 207. Paul.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the abstract for payment of claims dated August 9th, 2021 for the fiscal year of 2022, covering check numbers 101012 through 101185. General Fund, $219,210.83. Special Purpose, $2,225. Water Fund, $153,731.41. Capital Fund, $5,595.70. Refuse Fund, $12,398.99. Trust Fund, $10,430, for a total of $403,591.93.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions on the check register? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Nicole.
Whereas the New York State Retirement Systems requires that elected and appointed officials who are members of the New York State Retirement System report their time, and whereas the New York State Retirement Systems requires that we set a standard workday for elected and appointed officials, and whereas the New York State Retirement System requires that these hours be reported based on a timekeeping system, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Pleasantville hereby establishes the following standard workday for the following employee, and will report these days worked to the New York State and local employees' retirement based on a record of activities maintained and submitted to the village clerk by the following employee. So it's Lloyd Tasch. The term begins on April 2021 and ends in April 2022. So it says record of activities per month, 4.32.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That is the last of our resolutions on this short August agenda. I'll have more to say at our next meeting about some of the things we have lined up for September when we return with everybody's attention. But for the moment, we obviously try to keep the wheels rolling but not take any bold steps when so many people are away or otherwise engaged on vacation. So any comments of any kind from members of the board or members of the public?
Are we going to go back into a work session momentarily?
We will return to work session.
Okay. And I'll save it.
Okay. All right. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Good night. Look forward to seeing any of you who are interested in subject of the pool.
Oh, wait, we forgot something. Did we mention the orchestra?
Well, I certainly could mention that. We had a presentation. Yeah, well, we had a presentation in work session by the folks from the former Chappaqua Orchestra, which has rebranded itself as Orchestra 914 and has established Pleasantville as their base of activities. They will still be performing in various venues around Westchester, but we are certainly very, very pleased to have them based here in Westchester. If you're interested in hearing more about that, you can log in to pctv76.org within a few days and take a look at that section of our work session tape. But you can also Google Orchestra 914. They're establishing a website and stay in touch with all that's going on there. So again, as mentioned, Thursday of next week, the 19th at 7:30, we're going to have a sort of a town hall meeting, largely on Zoom, regarding the proposal to rebuild the village pool. Keep an eye out at pleasantville-ny.gov for the Zoom link for that. And then we'll be back for our next regular meeting on Monday, August 23. Thank you and good night. We're returning to work session. All right.
So whenever we finish the rest of it, I've got one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm wondering, do we have a good count of how many people are unemployed in Pleasantville and how many employers are not able to find people to fill available jobs in Pleasantville?
I'm not sure if we. I can try to dig up those numbers.
Well, because I'm saying if there's no way to get at them from anything that's very current, then I'm going to suggest maybe we do a Survey Monkey, and I can help you write it. But my thought is, as we're about to come into this conversation of what are the things that we can do with the part of the Recovery Act money that we want to spend on trying to stimulate jobs, to help Pleasantville, but to do that, we sort of need to know what the need is. And if we could sort of find out, because with 7,500 people, how many are adults? Like 5,000 in the village?
Well, it'll be interesting to see when we get this census statistics that we don't yet have, but
So
I'm guessing it might be in that ballpark.
Yeah, so if there's 5,000 adults, in theory, we could have 500 unemployed people, or we could have, 100, or we could have 50. And those three numbers would suggest very different things that we want to do in terms of our priorities.
So I'll reach out to the county to see if they have that specific number, or point me in the right direction.
Okay.
Okay. So the piece we had skipped over to talk to Alan was the policy issues about masking.
Yeah, so just wanted to kind of revisit this in these interesting times. Right now, any visitor to Village Hall needs to wear a mask regardless of vaccination status. We've asked for every employee, if they want to be able to remove their masks, provide proof of vaccination. So those who have not provided proof and/or are unvaccinated still have to wear masks when outside of their individual work location. Joni, for instance, at the senior center has taken similar policy. Some other senior centers are now mandating masks, regardless of vaccination status. So, right now, just kind of taking an informal survey of some of my colleagues, they're not moving on the policy yet. Westchester County has. They now require county employees, regardless of vaccination status, to wear masks in communal areas, so outside of their workspace. So, we can take a wait and see approach right now, and see where things go. We can move on a policy immediately. Certainly, I think maybe at the senior center, giving Joni the leeway to do what she thinks is best for that population.
So Joni right now is, for those who don't want to wear a mask, they have to show proof of vaccination.
That's correct.
Okay.
So the senior center is a particularly sensitive question, right?
Right.
My understanding of the science, and you guys can correct me, is that with the Delta variant, you are as able to pass it along if you're vaccinated as if you're unvaccinated, or at least you can pass it along if you're
You
vaccinated.
certainly can. Whether it's at the same level is another matter, but you absolutely can.
So the question, I guess, for the senior center and for us is, do we pass the glitter test? Right? The best I've ever heard somebody explain this is to say, if you have 7 kids at a big table and 6 of them are doing a project that does not involve glitter, and one of them is doing a project that does involve glitter, how many projects have glitter in them? The answer is all 7.
Yeah.
Right? So the question is, where do we stand in terms of, in the senior center and here, in terms of the reality that if somebody's not masked, they're going to, with an airborne virus, they're going to spread the virus. And if it's separated enough, then maybe that policy is appropriate, but we really don't want seniors passing the virus along to each other, because frankly, they're in the group that's being considered for booster shots.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a little more complicated than that, though. I mean, I think that's one of the variables, but I mean, for you guys, I would say that the policy should be determined by the general feeling of the people who are working here. But, I mean, the people who are the most at risk, obviously, are those who are unvaccinated, because they're the only ones at risk of contracting COVID, because they're at a much greater risk of having serious consequences if they contract COVID. And the seniors, when we met with them, I mean, I missed the last meeting, but at the first meeting at the senior center, were, kind of at their wits' end with what this has imposed on their life. And so, I don't know. I guess I'm personally of the view that in a setting where people are, spending long periods of time at work or things like that, that it should still be okay to be unmasked if you show proof of vaccination. That's kind of where I'm landing right now on this. But I think it should be more ultimately determined by the people that it's going to impact in that setting.
Right.
Well, I mean, I think it's our responsibility, though. Either way, I mean, the reality is,
I get that, but I just,
any person who is vaccinated, but who we allow to be exposed, can take it home and take it to their mom who lives with them, who may be vaccinated but is high risk and could still die from it. So
Yeah,
if we get to that point,
well, I guess the factor I don't know is how many seniors who are vaccinated are dying from it. It doesn't seem like that number is very high.
So, I mean,
Right.
the issue we confront, it seems to me, is, I mean, obviously everything we've said is all on the table. But what we're trying to do is get ahead of the life of this virus to get to the point that there are not enough people for it to continue to mutate, right? So,
But how is that ever going to happen if people are not going to get vaccinated?
That remains unclear. But what certainly is clear, I mean, Florida, for example, I mean, what did I see there? Something like 15,000 kids have now tested positive, and there are quite a few kids in the South in hospitals, little kids.
Right. Well,
So-
those, again, unvaccinated, but yeah.
Right, but little kids are unvaccinated. All little kids are unvaccinated.
Right. Well, schools, I
So-
think, are a separate issue because you have so many kids who are not vaccinated.
Yeah,
But
so
yeah.
look, my take on this is we were all feeling a good bit more relaxed about this a month or 6 weeks ago, and we're now in a circumstance where our own statistics are alarmingly headed in the wrong direction. Again, our statistical sample remains small. It could turn out that it doesn't stay that way, but I get the numbers every day, and every single day we're headed in the wrong direction, to the point that now, 8 days into August, we've already met the entire number we had in July, which itself was 15 times greater than the number we had in June. So the message to people is not that it's okay, because it isn't.
Not that what is okay.
The overall environment.
Oh, the overall
Right.
environment. Yeah,
I mean,
no,
people need to be cautious. And
Yeah, but I mean, to ask the village employees who are vaccinated to wear masks for, an 8-hour day,
I
I
guess
feel like that's asking a lot.
I mean, our kids wear masks for the same amount of time every day in school throughout the last
right,
year.
but different circumstances.
Yeah,
I
but
think.
the circumstance is if one of those people goes home, or God forbid, other people, contract the virus from them, and then go to and all the children, everybody under 12 years old in this whole country is unvaccinated. So we have a major unvaccinated population, and those kids are getting sick now. And maybe it'd only be one kid from Pleasantville who ends up seriously in the ICU on a ventilator, but I would like to avoid that if I have any part, and hopefully it's only for a few weeks, when we get past this, because I don't love these masks. I will be glad to burn mine when this is all over.
we'll have a celebratory burn.
And our office staff, we've spaced out and have reverted back in many ways. So we've built physical barriers.
That's different.
So we haven't. I don't get the sense that our office staff is feeling uncomfortable in the current environment. But it's certainly something we're keeping an eye on. I think it's a big help that we're mandating visitors to Village Hall wear masks.
What do you guys do when? It totally makes sense to me that if you're in separate airspaces and offices and everything, that you're unmasked when you're in space. What happens when you get together?
Those who are vaccinated have the choice to wear a mask or not. Some do. And those who are vaccinated wear masks, when they're walking the halls.
I guess that's the part where
My take on it is I think we should follow the same guideline the county established, which is that a vaccinated person does not have to wear a mask in their own workspace when they're not in a congregate setting. But everyone, vaccinated or unvaccinated, wears a mask in a congregate setting. Okay. That's my take on it.
Yeah, so in other words, most of the day you could be without your mask if you're in your own workspace.
Right.
You're not sharing air, basically. But you go to have a meeting or sit down with somebody, then you both put on your mask.
Right.
Is that unreasonable? It sucks.
Yeah. But many of our interactions are, across
Just
the departments
trying to hear it
are
out, but-
done via Zoom.
Yeah,
We're doing calls, so we've gotten in that groove already, and we haven't kind of reverted back.
I mean, for me, I'm in the same mindset as Nicole is. It's difficult and obviously challenging. I guess if we were to follow a guideline, I guess it makes sense to follow counties, but I do find it a bit difficult to have vaccinated individuals who, have to be wearing masks around each other. I haven't been, and I guess things are obviously changing. This was the first time in a setting like this that I wore a mask, and obviously we can compare. We can say kids do it all day, or we can say we've done this already. It's more than just the physical part. The psychological part of it all also really is incredibly tolling. And I think it's important to be sensitive in that aspect to morale overall. But I think it's something that we're going to have to monitor. We can set up a policy right now and kind of move forward and see how it goes. But I think it will be something that we have to check almost every other meeting we have and kind of get an update. How are we feeling?
Everything everyone has said is true, but the reason we're in the circumstance we're in right now is that not enough people did the right thing
So,
and have left us exposed to this.
so I guess the other thing we have to talk about is how's that going to change, right? Because, I mean, I know that it's not in our power, really, but, you know, unless more people get vaccinated, we're stuck, right? I mean, the kids, you know, will be able to get vaccinated. Kids under 12 will be able to get vaccinated at a certain point, but,
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing is we're in a wave now, clearly, right?
yeah.
Like 2 months ago, this is a different conversation. Right now, we're in a wave, and the problem is because so many of us adults are vaccinated, that actually makes the spread more troublesome because we're not going to be symptomatic, a lot of us at all, when we're potentially shedding virus. Meaning, like, we can't, everything that we're trying to control will happen before we know that it's even happened.
But I guess my point is that unless enough people get vaccinated, the only other way that we're going to get out of this is by herd immunity, which means the virus will have to circulate.
So now you're getting Darwinian on
Yeah.
us.
Well, no,
I mean, this the wave is going to go up and it's going to go
It's
down.
either
Like,
one or the other. Like, that's the only
in the
way.
next 4 to
And
6 weeks,
There
we're
are
going to
plenty
be
of
back
people
down.
who said we shouldn't have fought it at all a year and a half
Well,
ago.
I'm not one of those people.
And I'm not
but,
either, actually.
But I'm just, and this doesn't necessarily translate into policy. I'm partly expressing my frustration, but also questions about how we're actually going to get out of this. I mean, I think you're right, Paul, that part of it is that it has to be reevaluated frequently.
Yeah, but that's part of what we're doing now because 6 weeks ago, there was one case in Pleasantville. Was that right?
Yes, maybe zero.
Maybe 1 or 0 cases.
We were
in
at zero
Pleasantville.
for quite a while.
And I'm totally on board with you. That at that point, I think there's no reason for
I
unvaccinated
agree.
people to wear a mask.
Right.
But right now, we know there's 30. There could be 300 because the reality is people are not getting tested unless they're really symptomatic. And a lot of people are vaccinated in Pleasantville, and they're not going to show symptoms of, the disease. So we don't really know. It could be the number is the number. It could be we're actually right in the middle of this, and it's either going to get better or it's going to get a little bit worse. And I just don't want to be the one responsible for the one kid. Because I think of,
No, that's the strongest argument that I've heard so far, to be honest.
Well, I mean, there's a difference. God knows, I think we're all frustrated in our own lives and in our business lives and in our emotional state. Everybody is. It lands differently on different people, but from a policy standpoint, what do? You don't allow your frustration to say, we're going to throw up our hands and see what happens. We still need to message out to our community what I think is demonstrably true, which is what's changed is the Delta variant. 2 months ago, it looked like the vaccination was a pretty good Star Wars shield, and the virus mutated into this variant that has changed the calculus. And the painful possibility is that it may, some people think it will, but certainly it may do it again in ways, again, not to be the prophet of doom and gloom, but something that this variant, although it affects the vaccinated to some degree, it's still comparatively rare. The next variant may pierce the vaccine and put us back in the business of needing yet a different vaccine that we don't now have. So, who the hell knows, right? But as policymakers, it seems reasonable to me. I mean, first off, the county has a Department of Health led by a bunch of medical professionals who are in touch with the state and the feds. We have none of the above except all that we read. I'm inclined to believe that we should follow their lead.
Yeah. I mean, we have to, but doing it not in happy spirit.
Me too. Yeah.
I will agree with you on that for sure.
It's it's one of those type of things.
That passes for nothing.
Are you comfortable with that, Eric?
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll reach out to the county to get their policy in writing, adopted or adapted so that it kind of fits the village operation.
You can pick it up out of Copper Crane's
Yep, that's right. Yep.
email from the last county call last
And-
Monday.
And we'll implement it. We'll give it maybe a week or two. I'll talk to department heads and see how much time.
It's just not draconian. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's just not.
Well, and you know, and taking aside the really rare but serious possibility of a child being intubated or dying, the other possibility that we're trying to avoid, that I've heard rumors of, is that you can become infected and your family can become infected with the virus, and you could be forced to stay in an indoor space with your children for 10 days without leaving.
That is true. That does happen.
And that is a horror
Maybe we just have it like that.
Yeah, right.
All right, that's the way we message it. We're parents. We are protecting you from this possibility.
It's almost as scary as the virus.
So, I mean, I, as you know, in my day job, at intervals, spend quite a bit of time in hospitals, reviewing various things for clients of mine, and I have many times spent 8 solid hours wearing a mask long before COVID, and you know, of course, in a healthcare environment, that's not uncommon. You know, it's no fun, but nobody's asking somebody to wear a mask for 8 hours just in a congregate setting. So,
You know, what I'll talk to department heads, but what that probably means for Department of Public Works is when they're riding in trucks together, they should wear it. When they're outside, generally, you know, probably I wouldn't think that it's necessary.
I agree.
But those are kind of the details we'll parse through on an operational level.
Yeah, and it means not like we're going to be lying under the hedges with binoculars trying to find,
Right.
you know, who's violating. But at least from the standpoint of our policy and our messaging, we're trying not to end up in the situation we were in 9 months ago.
Right.
And you know, the numbers are tracking exactly what happened 9 months ago. Hopefully, that isn't where it goes.
Right. And again, we'll continue to monitor, and we can adapt as we see fit.
Okay.
All right, that'll do
I
it.
look forward to the day when we have no cause to discuss this.
Yes.